Welcome back to Les, Kevin, more tech from UTECit.com. So Les, we're thinking over the holidays, right? And holidays about gathering, a little downtime, chance to reflect on your life, set new goals for the year, but it's all about family. And as you're doing this, I thought family, and it just something in the back of my head just kept on popping up. What is family, and who represents family? And I thought of our next guest, and this is a guy that, he coined this phrase about himself, I think, but it's the most accurate thing I've heard. It's the modern day Forrest Gump. And people who, after I introduce him, they already know who I'm talking about. Anybody in Brighton knows him already, but they'll say, yes, that's very true. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce today's guest, and that is Mr. Tim Codd.
Thank you, Kevin. I don't know if I can live up to that introduction, but careful what you wish for.
Yeah, no. So it's funny. We were talking, and I said, as part of our series here, who could we bring in that would benefit? I think our listeners would really enjoy, and I think that I've always admired Tim from seeing him in the community. It's family, faith, and then business. But he's always been a great promoter of the community, great promoter of the kids, and great promoter of connecting people. I mean, that's how I met Tim, through being connected through somebody, through a cause or through an action, or somebody needed help, and we got introduced. And it's a great talent you have. You just bring everybody together. How do you do that?
Well, again, thank you for the kind words and the opportunity to talk to you in your new venture. I think it's great. I don't think there's enough of this, and less what you bring to this. What I learned prior to this this opportunity is, if you're going to want to do something, you got to do it. And I never had a business plan. I think I was sharing that with you. I did it out of necessity. And our firstborn struggled, and to this day is still our baby, and she's 28. And because we were so focused on her and all of her needs, and then the 4 other incredible children that we had, we just made sure that if they're going to prosper, you got to have a community to prosper.
Mm-hmm.
So we just dug in, as simple as that, and found ourselves in, as you introduced me as the modern day Forrest Gump. There are 3 things about Forrest Gump, and I got stopped by our Brighton finest one day on the way to school. And he comes up, and my license plate is the number 4STGUMP. And I, my son, T-Bone, and Andrew Meyer, I think, was in the back. So Kelly and Roger will get a kick out of this. And this gentleman going through Pine Creek stops me, and he goes, this is a 25. And I said, yes, sir. And he goes, and before I tell you how fast you're going, your license plate says Forrest Gump. Can you share with me why it says Forrest Gump? And I said, well, thank you. My kids are there, and they're scared, because I was going to middle school, so they're in the 7th grade or something like that. And I said, well, Forrest Gump never told a lie. And his mother did everything she possibly could to make sure that he had a chance. And then he lived up to every promise he ever made, including Bubba Gump and Lieutenant Dan. And then finally, he got the girl. And I can't remember which officer it was. He goes, you see, kids, that's why you ask these questions, and you'll learn something every day. He goes, just know that this is a very, very busy neighborhood. Slow down and have a great day.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, T-Bone goes, how'd you do that? And I said, I just answered his question.
Yeah, right.
That was it. So modern day Forrest Gump, how I got involved in the city, why, and still trying. I mean, as you know, we're doing a number of different things. And then, you ask about the website and things like that. We tend to make a difference as quietly and as impactful as we can. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's better done without the fanfare until it's done. So, forgive me, without having all the marketing and the advertising, the promotion, because I've lost more than I've won, and I've learned from that you never get out in front of your skis. My wife reminds me of that all the time. So again, there's some great things doing, and you're a part of them. So thank you.
What we ought to tell everybody here, they just need to sit back and relax, make sure they got their cup filled up with whatever they're drinking, because this is going to be a long one. And I can guarantee you, Tim's going to be our first 2-part, 3-part series. This is going to be a series versus one show. But before let me just say something less here with this. Let's talk about it real quick, and then you can ask a question. But family, wonderful wife, Lisa, right? Amazing daughter, and Morgan. We've got Casey that's going to change the world in about 2 months here, because it won't take her that long to get it done. T-Bone, who's off the charts, golf, hockey, whatever he wants to decide. And then maybe two of the favorites there, Lexi and Tucker. So that's the Cod family. Everybody knows them. They see the clan everywhere they go. And so go ahead.
Well, Tim, we just met this morning and got a little bit of your background. It's a fascinating story, right? And your commitment to community and family is obvious. And you seem to, I want to just say the business engine, right, kind of drives and helps with a lot of your personal initiatives. So there's a real tight weave between your family life, your community life, and your business life. So for those of us who are outside of Brighton area, because, from chatting with Kevin, very, very popular and well-known in this area, can you give us a flavor of how you got rolling? We're talking, you're from the Upper Peninsula, right?
The tropical side.
The tropical side of the Upper Peninsula.
And real Yoopers will know that.
Right. Well, and so what do the Yoopers call us? Trolls?
There's berry pickers. I mean,
no, they call us trolls because we live under the bridge.
Yes. Yes.
So anyway, how did you end up in Brighton?
Okay.
Right? How did you end up with all this engagement with the community? And I understand, the core, the kernel, if you will, is family and your faith.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So if you could just share
I'll try,
that
right?
with us.
And I'll again go back to the principle.
And Kevin's already committed to a multi-series.
Well, there's no way he can tell a story, and he's too entertaining, too much fun to get done.
And again, it's pretty simple. And as I was sharing, and I've done this, unfortunately, people will have to tolerate it, but I've been asked a number of different times, including my kids, what do you do? And I answer that by being, first and foremost, a parent. And you can't, I don't separate raising a family and, humbly speaking, raising a community as two different things, because you can't have a successful family if you don't have a successful community. And you would want that community to help, with your family and your family with the community. So I don't see those as really, two different objectives, because again, I think my mom told me this, and there's a quote on the back of my card: hang around people you want your kids to grow up to be.
Yeah.
And awesome. That right there is the community, right? If you're going to grow up your kids, you want to make sure that community has the characters that you want them to be. And I laugh, and you talk about that brilliant redhead down at Sunoco.
Yeah, Lauren, who feeds us coffee every morning.
And, we tease her as being the mayor, and, it's the safest place in town every morning. But when you look at and hear how people respect Lauren, and Lauren respects them,
mm-hmm.
and my kids, and the reason why I go to Corrigan is because of Ben Corrigan. I'll never forget, I shop with, or I try to vote with my wallet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a local first, if you will, disciple. And so I was using Meyer, because they're a Michigan-based company, mm-hmm. and they pay taxes, and it filters down into our municipalities, our police and fire, and of course our schools. And that's a real sincere spot for me. And I walked in out of just convenience into the convenience store at the BP station. And there was this gentleman there, and I can't remember what it was. The pump wasn't working, and I came in, and I used my card. And first of all, he greeted me very directly, very candidly, and pleasant, very pleasant. And we went through the whole transaction, and I was walking out, and he goes, "And thank you very much for your business."
Mm-hmm.
I paused like I'm pausing right now, and I'm with Tucker. I said, so we got out, and I said, "Did you hear that?" And he goes, "What, Dad? What?" So he didn't catch it because it doesn't happen very often. So I said, okay. I logged it, and I went about my business, and I said, okay, I need gas now. So again, I didn't know whether he was there or not, just out of coincidence, and boom, the exact same thing happened. And thank you for my business.
Yeah, great.
So fast forward, right? I come in there, and I do all my shopping. I have 5 cars. I don't know how much gas I buy, but it's a lot, and it's a dedicated, committed. We go to the Corrigan store, and I finally, again, Lauren was again
Now,
very
Tim, so you're telling me you drive a different car Monday, Tuesday?
No.
Oh, it's for the family.
It's the family.
Oh, I
yes,
see. Okay,
yes. So it's definitely this co-op. And I asked Lauren, I said, Lauren, just getting to know her after all of these visits, I said, there's this gentleman. And again, he's very direct, but he's very sincere.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, when are you coming in? And I said, in the afternoon, evening. And she goes, interesting. She goes, I think that's Ben. So I never introduced myself until the next time. I said, well, hi, Ben. He goes, hi, what's your name? I said, I'm Tim. He goes, well, thank you for your business. Again, went on my way and focused on making sure that's where I shop because of the customer service.
Perfect.
And the connection. So fast forward into the holidays, and all of my cars are going there. I stop there almost like as often as Kevin does. And Ben goes, here, Merry Christmas. And I was like, excuse me? And it was a gift card. So I said, oh, no. He goes, no. He goes, I've been noticing how much you use our and you brought your kids in and your cars, so thank you very much. I was taken back. And I was taken back, so I was a little shocked and obviously uncomfortable. So I said thank you. I was unprepared to do anything. So I leave, and I come back, and I make sure I see Lauren. I said, Lauren, she goes, where did he do that? How did he do that? So I said, if you don't mind, can you let me know who I can talk to at the Corrigan corporate, because I want to make sure they know what they did. So she goes, oh, that would be Mr. Corrigan. And I went, okay. Could I get his phone number? Oh, you'd have to go through the office. And of course, I said, no problem. All I want to do is just let them know this is the kind of service you're offering. Mm-hmm. So I did, and sure enough, he called me back, and he goes, that's my son. And he goes, we don't authorize that. So he did that out of his own pocket. And from then on, like I said, this is 5, 6, 8, I don't know how long it's been, but because of that little piece, you talk about community and you talk about family, there's Mr. Corrigan, there's Ben Corrigan, there's Lauren, and I hope it answers your question to start off why and what we do. And then again, Kevin, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you identifying each and every child, because that's probably the hardest thing that we have to do as a parent, is make sure that we parent as equally as possible, because sometimes one gets more attention than the other, and it's a balance, and it's amazing. And you bring up a very good point about Tucker. He's the youngest, and Lexi's the youngest daughter, and T-Bone is, obviously getting some attention. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know this, but as Casey was playing soccer at Grand Valley on the national championship, and unfortunately she had some tragedy and had 2 ACL injuries, which kind of cut her career short. I get an envelope, manila-sized envelope, and we get it at home, and it's Grand Valley, and it says Casey Codd on it. And she goes, I don't know who opened it. It was the finance student of the year from the Stedman Business School.
Mm.
She never told us.
Yeah.
So again, when you get those kind of, each one of our kids, and thankfully so, and it has a lot to do with Mom, and I told you about her story and her commitment, because she's a lot brighter than I am, and she had a lot more potential. But because of Morgan, I think we all are where we are because we're supposed to be where we are, because Morgan made Lisa the best mother. And again, I think Carolyn is incredible, and you guys have incredible kids. But I just
proud papa. It's all right. It's all right. We're all in our own.
Well, no, we're blessed in our community, because I'm going to jump back. You mentioned the Corrigans, and Tim and Mike both have their own families, but all their kids, up and down are that way, and they got that from their mom and dad, right? From Bernie and Bonnie there, they were leaders, and for all the blessings they have, they're still very humble people and active in the community, just like you guys. Very successful people that it'd be easy to pick up your ball and go do something, or just focus on your own stuff. But like the Codds, the Corrigans are very much giving back to the community. How do we make it better? And
absolutely,
I think it's amazing. It's neat stuff to see.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hey, Tim, before you go on, I just wanted, John, I don't know if you can zoom in on the business card, or can you do that?
Throw it up.
I can add it post.
Yeah,
Okay,
look for it at the end of the show.
So all I want to show is just to talk about your integrity and in the core. So the title that you have on your card is parent, right?
Yes, sir.
And then so when I went into LinkedIn, before we knew you were going to be on, find out a little bit about you, throughout your titles and your careers, you have linked it's parent. So I think that's awesome. And that is true, the statement on the back of the card, right?
Yeah.
Well, he has to put parent because Lisa puts boss on hers.
Got it. Now we got it figured out. Pecking order is now established.
There's not a well-run household where it's not that way, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I want to, you asked a couple of questions, but I want to get back to, again, I never knew the Corrigans. That's not why we came here. But when Morgan was growing up, and we needed a school because of her, her abilities and disabilities, we were living in Commerce Township, and we went through that process of, getting her, if you will, assessed, and they were very challenging. So Lisa did the homework, and at the time I was traveling. My consulting business was more national. So literally I'd be going to California and Florida each other week, and it was crazy. So what she was able to do, and I'll never forget, I was on it was the only time I was golfing in like 6 years. And that I'm kidding. I was on a golf course, and I'm with this executive, and Lisa goes, I bought a house. I said, are you leaving me? Or whatever? She goes, no, I bought a house, and it's in Brighton. And I'm like, what? And again, if anybody knows Lisa, she's a doer. Mm-hmm. And she did an incredible amount of work in finding a community that would adopt the special needs and embrace the opportunity to participate. And this is, I don't think Greg Gray was that old, but he wasn't here then. But Brighton schools had this welcoming, like, we wanted to bring in consultants from Eastern Michigan University because autism back then wasn't what it is
right
today. And as you can imagine, and we live it, there's so much focus on one size fits all, especially, in the fragile and the, if you will, the special needs. And our daughter is different on the spectrum than, and that's autism. That's why they call it the spectrum.
Yeah.
And Brighton allowed us to bring in these consultants as interns. and, if you will, teach the teacher phrase. And it was amazing. And Colleen Manny was one of the first. And forgive me because there's so many others that were so very, very, very helpful. And Livingston County became, I think, if you will, the destination, not just for families with special needs, but for a community that showed a willingness, right? And I think that's what we're all experiencing. And as you know, when you bring in people from out of town, they go, wow, what a beautiful community. And that's just because I think of the people and, if you will, the forefathers and the Corrigans of the world that help establish this is how we're going to do our business. We're going to do it, not just talk about it.
Yeah.
So that's why and how we got to Brighton.
That's fantastic. Great story.
Oh, thank you.
Great story. What do you get? Oh, go ahead, Kev.
So Morgan, amazing.
Yep.
And the courage and excitement that she attacks each day with, and Lisa, being there to help her. Let's jump on Casey, because I loved watching her play soccer with my daughter, and she's done remarkable things in her athletic career. But talk to us about her professional career and how she's launching and the neat things she's doing there.
Well, I don't know if anybody can see me, but they could probably see I'm busting with pride. It's again, one of those stories where she was number 2 behind Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
And then as the family grew, she became number 1 because she's the oldest. So she's kind of the compass. And, there's so many stories about Casey. And one of the things that I can share was, what are we going to do? She's having a lot of success at Brighton in a number of different ways. And I can't pinpoint one event, but I can say I got a text message from Greg Gray when Casey was a freshman. And I think, again, that's another reason for Brighton schools. You get involved, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they get to know you, and their willingness to know you. And he said, she's going to be all right. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean? And he goes, so don't worry about Casey. She's gonna do it. So she was in leadership for 2 years, and she just, again, thanks to Greg Gray and his staff. And again, I can't do it alone. Lisa couldn't do it alone, but we were able to demonstrate what we do for Morgan. Casey witnessed that. And she goes into this career. What am I going to do for a career? And Lisa's a prolific writer. She's I think a couple of her degrees is in journalism and writing. And so she's a very, very, if you will, gifted writer. So all of our kids have known how to write because Lisa made sure they read and they wrote. So she goes, I want to be a blogger. I travel because we couldn't travel, right? Because we made a commitment to do what we did for Morgan. And that's a whole nother story. And she goes, I want to travel because I think from reading and Lisa got travel magazines. And so it was more of a journey mentally, right? And dreaming. Mm-hmm. And she goes, I want to go to these destinations and I want to write about them. And I said, oh, that's great. I said, so why go there and write about them? Why don't you just go there and own them? And she goes, you can own them? I said, if you dream big enough, yeah.
Right.
And fast forward, we got a chance to meet, and again, modern day Forrest Gump, one of the largest, if you will, resort owners and success stories, Jeff Sofer. And at the time, he was married to Elle McPherson. And he had all of these properties, Turnberry, Fontainebleau, etc. And we were able to carefully ask these questions. Well, how did this happen? So that was Casey's like, instead of writing, I'm going into finance. So fast forward into college, and she has a wonderful, experience. And again, it's not all cupcakes and candy bars and milkshakes. I mean, it's a challenge, and
it's called life.
It's called life, and again, some of the phrases that I search for and look for, and a lesson to my family that you're a part of, that you get on a daily basis. I found this one quote. It says, "If I love you, I wish upon you these challenges early in life, so that later in life you can endure." And Casey had that. Mm-hmm. Our family had that, and now. When she, like I told you earlier, she was the finance student of the business. I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
She got this job interview, and it was a condition. If you're ever leaving town, coming home or going somewhere, you got to call us. So I get this call, and we have a daily call every night. All my kids, we check in. And I hope that lasts forever. I don't know, but it's still working. And she goes, Dad, how are you? And I go, good. I said, where are you going? You coming home? She goes, no, I'm going to Chicago. I go, what are you doing going to Chicago? She goes, well, I got a job interview. I said, job interview? What? She goes, well, I'm working in the career office, and I'm helping, and this thing came posted from JP Morgan, and the process was you had to write an application, and then you had to write an essay, and then you had to do this, and you had to do this. And I'm like going, how did you get to Chicago? Well, I passed my video interview, and I passed all these other things, and I said, so you're going to Chicago? She goes, yeah, I got to compete against the Indiana Business School. I had to keep U of M, and I said, how many of you from Grand Valley? She goes, I'm the only one. Mm. So fast forward, she goes through this whole interview process. And as you know, I think Grand Valley is a regional asset. Mm-hmm. And they don't get the privilege of being on the international stage. And this just came by as a post. And she did it by just acknowledging it from an email or a website. Yeah. And she channeled right through it. She dug in and went down that rabbit hole. Mm-hmm. And now she's a middle market analyst at JP Morgan. She got the job. And it was interesting because I said, so how do you think you got it? Well, she says, I kept using the example back to the community of, because they asked, and JP Morgan has this very specific initiative about investing locally. Mm-hmm. And they put this partnership together with Detroit and the mayor of Detroit, Mike Duggan, who's done a fabulous job. Sure. And at the time, it was Governor Snyder. And she said, she kept referring back to it, that's when politics was not the most important part of the relationship. You put politics aside, and if you can't have a successful city,
right,
you can't have a successful state. And I felt, knowing what little we did, but we could hear about it, JP Morgan was involved in that, and that mm-hmm. was the Jamie Dimon project.
Right.
So Casey dug in, and JP Morgan got more and more interested because she was very specific.
She did the research.
She did the research and felt connected. And every Christmas, every holiday, Thanksgiving, we go to Detroit. And Casey and all the kids, Morgan and Lisa, stay home. But we've been going down to Detroit, and I'll never forget, and I won't name the family, but we were going down to Detroit, and we're going to go see the Christmas tree and blah, blah, blah. And they're going, you can't, this is 5-6 years ago, different Detroit. You can't go there, right? It's dangerous. It's dangerous. And I'm going, excuse me? We go there all the time.
Yeah.
And her comfort and her ability to not be fragile mm-hmm. and show the world that, hey, this is my Detroit. I may live in Brighton, but I'm very familiar with what is going on and how much work is going on. And then it's interesting, and this is another, and I hope we can talk about this, because one of the things that I think is near and dear to us is that the people that never left Detroit aren't the ones getting the attention. And right. Thankfully, you have the Gilberts, who've done a phenomenal job, and the Illiches, and the Carmanoses, who really, and the Blue Cross Blue Shield, who put their corporate entities mm-hmm. there. And now you see GM, et cetera, and they really dug in. But it's amazing. There's some unsung heroes.
Sure.
That never left Detroit when everybody could. And it goes back to, do I know Joanne mm-hmm. Howard? And well, there's a gentleman.
Well, somewhere along the line, it became fun to knock the city of Detroit, right? You know what I mean? It's like the cool thing to do, but people don't realize that does play a toll, and you need strong people like the aforementioned people to go in there and say, no, this is our city. We're going to make it
Absolutely.
Big. We're going to make it right, and they've done a good job with it.
Well, and I can just finish up with this because I think it's necessary to know. I didn't know Jim Harbaugh. I say proudly, I got a relationship with Tom Izzo, and that happened out of chance. Again, because of family, and same thing with Ken Holland and the Red Wing. It was all because of family. It wasn't because of business or anything like that. But there's a foundation, and we were doing a program with Ford Motor Company, specifically through the United Auto Workers. And they introduced me to this program in Detroit, and it's an abandoned school. And there's, I think, like 60 or 70 abandoned schools in Detroit.
Amazing.
So that's a whole nother
Right.
rabbit hole.
Right.
Okay. Can you imagine abandoned schools, meaning they don't have the population?
It's right. I mean, the population is what, 6,
So it's
70?
so I go there, and I meet this gentleman named Horatio Williams, and this guy was a phenomenal athlete in his time. Unfortunately, he didn't and couldn't make it because of different challenges, but because he had some success and it came from the city of Detroit, his focus was, I'm not leaving and I'm giving, I'm digging in. So we do all these programs, and I didn't know what it was, but he probably qualifies, and I'm going to probably exaggerate, but to make the point, 50 students for scholarships for music. Because he has volunteers that come in and teach music. They have a chess program after school. Now, it's not basketball, it's not, and he has a culinary. He built a beautiful kitchen. And he has a culinary, and Schoolcraft is now participating with him to get these. And then finally, and he's brought me into this because, again, our respect for each other is that every year he has a program, and they're obviously weeks apart, where coaches coach the coaches. And it's amazing where I met Mark D'Antonio and Tom Izzo, obviously I knew, but he'd come down there, and he and they would bring their staff. And it was a way of thanking the Detroit public school teachers and coaches for staying.
Right. In
Because
the
everybody
community. They could have left.
They could have left.
Right.
And after that, I met Jim Harbaugh and his whole staff, and Don Brown, et cetera. And it's amazing when you watch them in that environment versus on the field with them running up and down the sidelines, and you see, and this is, again, very how I get to appreciate the blessings of being a Forrest Gump. We had to kick Jim Harbaugh out. He wouldn't leave.
Yeah.
He was so appreciative and so engaged in his element. Yeah. I mean, there weren't 110,000 people there. There were maybe 30.
Right.
And there's Jim Harbaugh. Same thing with Mark D'Antonio. I was two different people, and respectfully, two very successful and people I admire and respect.
Passionate people, though.
And I would, that's another conversation, because I think emotion is a big part of it. But I think purpose is more specific.
Purpose-driven.
Purpose-driven. And that's worthy of some discovery.
Yeah,
it
is.
Go find the difference between passion and purpose, and you'll see purpose has a little more substance to it, because emotional control is all about passion, right?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, well, outside of soccer, I hadn't met you at soccer events. I think that was the first, I'll call it, professional thing that we did together. I remember you dragging me up for a Thanksgiving weekend for a school lunchbox program that you were doing with the Pistons and a group of kids from Detroit, and you're like, you got to come see this. I'm like, all right, I'll come see it. You know what I mean? It was like too good to pass up. I'm not an NBA basketball guy, but I loved the event, and it was just neat to see the kids and the thing you're leading on. I can't remember the name of the program, but it's sort of relevant. So tell us a little bit, and I cut you off. If you want to finish the thought there, go ahead. But
well, it was just because Casey was a part of it. T-Bone was a part of it. Tucker is a part of it. And that's why they were never fearful, because they felt not just welcome, but they felt, this is
Part of the community.
well, it was fun. And again, there were no issues regarding gender or race, or it was us and us and us. It's not us versus them. It was just us. So Casey was a profound participant, and I think that's what helped her with her career. Now, like I said, she's advanced. She's now 1 year ahead of the track that they had at JP Morgan. So she's got a number of different offers. And like I said, I'm beaming with proud, and I got 4 other kids too.
So I told you that sit back and just relax on this thing. We're going for a while. This thing's spinning. So let me do this. We called it the modern day Forrest Gump as our title here, but we probably should have renamed it the Amazing Women of the Cod Family. Let's talk about Lexi, because I know T-Bone hasn't done anything that we could even talk about. We'd be boring people, right? Because that kid's not successful at all. But I want to talk about Tucker. So you promised you'd come back and do another one. We'll focus on the men on the second half of the show.
Sure.
And we'll focus on the women on the first part. So tell us a little bit about Lexi, and then we'll get out of here at some point.
Well, Lexi is going to save the world. Casey is hardwired. She is very empathetic, but very focused and driven to make sure that, and Lexi doesn't want to leave anybody behind. Mm-hmm. So she is, gosh, again, God willing, I think she's going to have 10 kids. And there's an over-under on that. She amazing again, and this is where I get somewhat emotional, because when you have a Casey who is driven and has very specific agenda items and objectives, and then you have T-Bone who's underneath Lexi, it requires a lot of time. Mm-hmm. And Lexi and Tucker, and this is where, again, we talked about every single one of those kids are so unique and so special in their own way. But I felt that Lexi just came along because she didn't want to disrupt anybody else. Mm-hmm. And she, to this day, and I've said this a number of different times, and if she gets to see this, she'll say, "Oh, Dad." But she's our greatest athlete. Now think about that. We have been blessed to have some pretty good athletes.
Sure.
And that's relatively speaking. But she was natural. I'll never forget, again, the University of Michigan women's basketball team. Kevin Borseth, Mike Williams, and Dom Pitzowick, 2 of those coaches stayed at our house while they were getting the job. And they had basketballs all over, and we were coming to their practices, and we were part of the family. They were ours. They were living in our basement until they brought their families in, etc. And Lexi, as the coach, they gave her a basketball and said, "You're very good." She was doing jump shots when she was in the 6th grade. Mm-hmm. And we're like, "Oh my gosh, Lexi." But again, Lexi was more about, Mike Williams had a baby and Kevin had a couple of kids. So she was taking care of their family. But when it was time to go out there and shoot around, she was popping and stopping and hitting shots. Same thing with golf. So at the time we had this outing, and we were blessed to have the George Blahas and the Kenny Hollands, and they all participated, Nick Cronwell, and at the time Jonas Jerebko. And Lexi was out, instead of golfing, she was out selling tickets and doing the thing and just making sure everybody's comfortable.
Because she got into our wallet a couple times over there at Mount Brighton.
Right. So she is just in her element, making sure everybody's taken care of. And so Jonas says, "Lexi, come and hit a golf ball." "Oh, no, Lexi, come and hit a golf ball." So she takes a couple of practice swings, and we just went, that was natural.
Wow.
And she hit the ball, and this is probably, she was 8th grade, and T-Bone was with us, and I'm telling you, she pumped it. So when I talk about Lexi, she's probably the one that was always there to make sure everybody was taken care of versus doing what I think was natural athletically and physically. She leads and loves with her heart first. And now I can say very proudly, she just accepted her job at the Rock family of companies in the communications department. She had an incredible internship there last year, and they offered her a job, and she's graduating from Grand Valley right now, and we couldn't be, and there's so much more, but we couldn't be more proud.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Now very, very successful women of the Cod family. And it's neat to see. And I wish the men were half as successful as those women. It'd be a really good deal. But no, the thing I always appreciated that you said is that you always preach family and faith, but nothing was given to the kids. They had to earn everything. And you see in everything that they worked, whether it was studies, athletics, or just being good people. I mean, they worked at everything they did, and they've earned everything. So that's pretty neat.
Thank you.
So,
Well,
awesome.
and that's again, my mom was a single parent. If you notice, the name of my company now is Masako. Yesterday was the anniversary of her passing, and I know she's in heaven. And every morning when I say "Good morning, sunshine," that's her. So there's never a day. And it's amazing because there's two things that she did. She worked 7 days a week. And as I said, a single parent, couldn't read or write because she was from Japan. Met my dad during the Korean War, came to the United States thinking she was going to be in New York, Chicago, or L.A. because that's what the media and the newspaper said. But she ended up in the tropical side of Ontonagon County. And it's amazing because she said there's two things that you can control, whether it's money or anything, and that was effort and attitude.
Absolutely.
And then hang around people that you want your kids to be, and the rest is history.
So we're going to wrap it up here because we're going to make you come back for segment 2.
Yeah.
But I wanted to first give a shout out to my daughter because, as you know, our
Amazing
little
Grace.
thing,
Amazing
Grace
Grace.
says she was announced many times at a soccer field by Mr. Cod that she loved. She was embarrassed by it, but she goes, "Dad, that's kind of fun. I like that." But she's listened to the podcast. She's one of our 3 listeners, and she knew that we were trying to get a bourbon
5 now
sponsor.
because our kids
5. Yeah, we got I got 8 now because of the 5 Cod family. But so this was a Christmas gift. It's the Les Kevin More Tech podcast. Bourbon
I
cups.
love it. It's
and knowing that
absolutely
Tim
great.
has no bad habits, Lauren wanted to make sure I sent you a chocolate milk. She said, Tim's not a bad character like you. He's got it together. So cheers, guys. And hey, thanks, Tim, for having us on here.
Thank
all right.
you.
Speaking of family, Kevin, that's a wonderful, wonderful gift for your daughter.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.